Good day, everybody, and welcome to the show. After hearing the voice of the lovely lady now, I'm sorry that you have to listen to my voice for an hour. That's kind of a downer, but let's make the best out of it. Um, First of all, let me just get a quick picture who I'm dealing with. My question would be, who of you writes code? So who is working with code? So I thought that pretty much everybody. But keep your hands up, please. That's a German thing. Keep your hands up. Um, my question is, are you good at it? So, you're all good at it, but I saw a couple of hands going down. What about you? You're like, nah, I'm really below average. I suck. Yeah, color, of course, but I earn good money with it. Well, the thing is, most of us are pretty good at coding, and that is important, but it's also very common. So it's hard to be special in a one-dimensional perspective where you think coding will make the change. Um, This is why in my presentation today, I'd like to change the perspective or the focus, at least for this hour, at the second half of our job. And those are the skills beyond code. Let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Pierluigi Francesco Meloni. So keep it simple as nothing that my parents had in mind when they named me. So the short version is Gigi. I think everyone can remember that. And as you can hear from my Italian name, I come from Deutschland, from Wokatier, Germany. But I got both backgrounds, German and Italian, and that comes in handy because I'm like a FAS, like a foreigner as a service. So I can choose the nationality that fits the situation. For example, when I'm 5 minutes late for a meeting, I can always come in and say, the traffic, and there was a secretary outside. Oh, I was talking to her, and everybody be like, yeah, it's the Italian. That's fine. But if it's my meeting, and I'm standing there like, you are like 17 seconds late, then everybody be like, relax, he's not such an asshole. He's a German. All right, enough German bashing. No, there might be more. I studied computer science and I worked in the tech industry for the past 20 years, pretty much every role you can imagine. I started classically as a software engineer, then architecture. Then I somehow made my way into management, basically product management, and then some executive roles. And then at a certain point in time, where you might also be now or maybe in the future, I thought about creating something myself. And I did. And I founded a company called Other Skills. That's an e-learning academy for tech specialists. And it focuses on the second half of the job. When I started out in the tech industry, I did pretty much, I guess, like most of you, I did some gaming and started scripting for the game and stuff like that. Fell in love with it. And I thought about, well, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do cool stuff myself. I'd like to have a good time because computers for me meant a good time. And probably I even wanted to change the world. You want to create something big, something cool. But then at a certain point in time, you got to earn money with it. And you go into business. The business world looks a bit different. First of all, you get customers, demanding customers. Those are the ones with their requirements that stand in between the way of you and a perfect application. Then you have to deal with legacy a lot. I mean, basically most of the time we work with code that somebody else wrote that we have to maintain. And the times we get to write something from scratch are kind of limited. And there's hierarchy and politics a lot in every company. So you kind of get used to it, and when you advance, you kind of switch your focus to, okay, I stay here, I want to earn more money, I want to become a senior one day, I want to get, I don't know, another rank, and works at the beginning. But still, this desire doesn't go away. It's still there for everybody. It's still there for you, I'm pretty sure. It's this, damn, I want to influence decisions. I want to do things right. I want to build the right thing, and I want to be heard, and I want to be valued, because I'm an expert. It's not only that I studied that stuff, I've been working here forever. I know a thing or two about it. But the problem that we often face in companies, in our industry, is that tech experts do not get the, let's say, appreciation they should get. Most of the time, the real experts don't really have the influence they should have because they're just a department although everything is becoming more technological from day to day. Most of the time, you're not really heard the way you should be heard. And most of the times, you have to do things that you think you don't do them right. And that has a natural outcome. One of the most natural outcomes is technical debt. When efficiency over time goes down. Actually, yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, I read a statistic that said that American companies, tech companies, on average spend like a third of their budget on battling technical debt. And I'm not talking about maintenance, just battling technical debt. While compared to that, it was, I guess, 25%, about a fourth, that is spent on innovation. So you got more money spending fighting the old shit. Can I curse? Because I'll do a lot. All right, battling the old stuff compared to creating the new world. And that also, of course, leads to complexity growing. And I guess, I mean, you know it. Everybody came to a new company where everything seemed golden, and then you're like, same crap again. And that's kind of frustrating. And it's especially frustrating because you think, damn, I knew it better. And my colleagues knew it better too. So what you do? You check how the big ones do it. You come to conferences like these. And what you see is like, first of all, you learn the methodologies they have. It's like, oh, agile. Sounds so good on paper. Like Spotify, they do the tribe stuff. Got to work. It worked for them. Should be working for us too. Some of them are lean or whatsoever. All the methodologies, you name them. And of course, like this makes, I don't know, like 5% on conferences or 3%. And all the rest, of course, is spent on tech. And most of the time, disruptive tech and innovative tech. And the presentations sound really good. Because the result of the presentation is most of the time we had this problem, we did that, and after just some configuration, everything worked. And it's great. And even if it's great, there's this problem that you were at this conference and not the deciders, maybe not even your team. And it doesn't really change that you don't get to influence it. Maybe it makes it worse because you get another great solution in your mind, and it's like, how can I influence them? How can I make things right? What can I do to be heard? And then there's another thing, at least that in my path. You can shake your head if it's not that way, but I think you're at the situation too. Sometimes when something bigger is about to happen in a company, you call somebody from like an external advisor or something like that. Most of the time people come in, they bring their buzzword gun with them, and they tell you stuff about the bright future. I call them the philosophers or the noise executives, or however you want to call them. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be like an advisor or a consultant. It can just be somebody new for the job, because new is trustworthy. And they say things that you have probably said like 100 times before. And they might even say it a bit more generic. Like you said, damn, I understand what you mean, but it's actually not that easy with us because I know a bit more. But anyway, management listens to them. And it's like, yeah, that's okay, at least somebody listens, but why this way? And the worst thing that can happen is that somebody like them becomes your manager as well. So I had a crisis in my career in between, because I somehow figured, what's it going to be? Is that like the option? Is like going somewhere, feeling good at the beginning, and then getting frustrated because things don't change the way I want them to change, or the way at least I hear them? Or do I have to become one of them? Like selling an agenda. And then looking at your LinkedIn profile, like I worked for 20 important companies in 10 years. It's like bringing the message and leaving again. So it was kind of frustrating. But then something happened, something strange. Back in the day, I was working at a pharma company, and the company had a great application. The application had great business value, let's say it like that. It was a real fit for the market and was great for the clients. It was clinical research. But from a tech viewpoint, it was a disaster. It wasn't built by proper experts, and it was at a certain point in time where it was nice for the customers, but maintaining it and growing the software was a nightmare, and it didn't make sense. So it was clear we need a refactoring or even a rewrite. And of course, what does a company do? Do they listen to the experts? No, they bring in someone else. And in that case, they brought in Steven. And Steven, if you're here, I don't know, or if you're watching online, or if you're probably going to watch this He's here? Hi, Stephen. Say your second name. No, you're wrong. Stephen was a girl. He is now. No, so for the real Stephen, if you watch, there's the camera. If you're watching this, I really hated your guts. I didn't know you. I haven't even heard your voice, but you know, you were through for me the moment you came. But the strangest thing happened. Stephen was different. First of all, he was calm and real. He was like a really trustworthy person, and he was a real pro. So he had the tech down to the last bit. So we learned a lot from him. And strangely, he was kind of nerdy. So actually, it felt he was one of us. And we were all thinking, damn, we already have that persona. Why do we need another one? We already know the cheat, how to influence management. But the craziest thing is, he was able to do it. He influenced them, but big time. It was like developers' dream. He got all the stuff we were dreaming about, and management was happy about it. So he got real change done, and that was crazy. And I remember one of the first times I had an interaction with him was when we were thinking about refactoring of parts of the front end. And I had a nice idea, and I figured out a strategy how to do it, and even a roadmap how to do it. And I did a presentation in front of my team, and had it all done. And the great thing is, the team liked it. They even loved it. Even Steven said, that's how we should do it. Great thing. And everybody was like, let's show it to management. And then Steven was in the room as well, and he did, with his Pope-like attitude. He stood up, opened his arms, and said, like, haven't we learned anything? We were like, the fuck is he saying? Everybody liked it. I want to show it to management. And I was like, you want to take the credits for it again or what? And the thing is, he said, no. You showed it to tech people. If you're going to show it to the management, you have to rewrite the whole thing. He told me about knowing the audience. He said, you got to know your audience. First of all, whoever you speak to, in that case, it's management. You have to figure out what are their expectations and what are their KPIs. So they don't want to know about fancy solution or clean code or whatsoever. They want to know numbers. They want to know a base to decide on. They want to know how long it's going to take, what's it going to cost, what's going to be the benefit. And of course, they use a different language. So if I have a presentation and 90% of the slides are full with code, I could as well just replace them with, I don't know, screenshots from Chinese papers. Has the same effect, distracts them, and they might be thinking, who is that? So that's not really expert behavior, and I wanted to appear as an expert. So it's like, okay, the job is not make them understand in the meeting what I'm in my language, what I'm saying. It's like make them understand in their own language. I have to bring the action up front. And the third one, and it was a nice advice, was whenever you, and it's specifically for management, whenever you talk to management, don't really talk about the solution, because you should be trusted with the solution. Make them understand the problem and the necessity and the importance of the problem, and make them understand the benefit. And they should trust you with the solution. It's like, okay, we got it, you are the one to fix it, and the numbers are correct, do it. And that's the moment where you gain responsibility for the thing, and you have no one to interrupt you in between. Think about it like that. Whenever you go to management, bring like 2 or 3 solutions that you can live with, and let them choose the solutions. But as soon as you come up with like open questions, they do the things that they do best. They decide. Or they might even raise other questions, even though they don't know what they're talking about, because it's tech. And then they'll be like, yeah, okay, we do it this way, this way, this way. And then you have to live with it, with a decision that you might not even have taken. So that was kind of a good advice. And what I did is I worked it out, made a complete different presentation. And I went in there like first times, like, okay, it's a bit strange and new for me, but let's try it in their language. And it was a complete success. And I was like, it was the first time ever I was sitting there, not so many questions, like smiling faces, like I thought about it. And I even had one guy applauding. Like the only thing that there's a German sayer about it, but it wouldn't make sense in English anyway. So Germans applaud in a different way, let's say it like that. It was applause, and I was like, oh, that was really cool. And then in the retro, when I thought, how could that happen? I had a moment of epiphany. And I was thinking about Stephen, and I was thinking, what the hell did he do? Because at that moment, I was still thinking he was kind of a magician. Like, I don't know, maybe he drugged them, whatever. He had something against them, like could blackmail them, I don't know. Then I thought maybe he's just super empathetic and I don't get it, I just don't feel it. Or at a certain point, I just thought, maybe he's just old and privileged. Or like you Gen Z people would say, he's just an old white man. But that was actually not the thing. The thing, what he did is he had like, let's say like that, he had like a database in his head with proven procedures for pretty much every situation. Like he could determine, it's that kind of situation, and I have a checklist. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And how should I behave? It was kind of an algorithmical approach for human interactions. And I loved that. And I was like, this is how it, I don't even know if he does it consciously or if that is just his talent, but observing the system, like checking the logs, what happened there, I figured out that pattern. And so I started looking for that. And I was like, okay, whenever somebody does something really good, I'm looking for the success factors. Or asking like more senior people, like, how would you do that situation? It's like, that sounds really good. And first of all, you don't fuck up. And second of all, you get some success factors that might work because they worked before. And I started incorporating them in my daily life. And that was pretty much the moment when things started to change. First of all, people started trusting me more. The influence level grew. Second of all, I became, because lots of that stuff has to do with working with others in a team, I became a better team player. And if you become a better team player, the team becomes better. And if the team becomes better, very likely results will become better. So that's kind of a positive chain reaction. And third of all, and that's probably interesting for many of you, suddenly I became to appear on the radar for promotion. And before it felt kind of normal to chase promotions. But that somehow changed, that opportunities were looking out for me. Because you somehow start creating a name without being a philosopher and making like publicity for your own brand. It's just like, let's call it like leading by success. And that's what really attracts people. So the best thing about it actually felt for me was that my initial fear of like going this way or that way wasn't true. I could just be me. So strangely enough, my first learning here was, ironically, the key to producing great code at work and truly enjoying work wasn't in the code itself, but beyond it. Obviously, it's in the code, but there was a missing puzzle piece to elevate that situation. And it was beyond it. And so it started, ignited something, and I wanted more. So I continued. I was at another place. Stephen was long gone then, so the master was out of the house, but I was still looking for it because first of all, I wanted to have a better life experience for myself, a work-life experience. And second of all, if it works for you, it might work as well for others. And as this is about interacting with people, it's nice, if they change as well. So I was really thinking like, okay, maybe there is something that they can do because I'm not a teacher. I didn't want to teach them. So I was looking out and I was, checking programs that they're out there. I'm pretty sure many of you made stuff like that too, like coaching trainings or leadership trainings, like career seminars, soft skill course and that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure they're all good and they have their own case, where they make sense. But it's kind of not the stuff I experienced. And it's not that kind of suitable. Actually, hard to describe. Tell you what I mean. What I got when I did that stuff was, first of all, trainings you can do out there are pretty generic. And I have a problem with that because if things are generic and if something is good for everybody, then it's really good for nobody. And good is somehow not enough when you can have better. And the next thing is, most of the stuff that is out there, especially soft skills related, is not really from the tech world. It's like kind of generic. It's like you learn stuff like, this is an alpha person in the room, then there might be a beta and a gamma person. You're like, okay, is there like, I don't know, Popeye person as well? How does that help me? It's not really applicable. That's the thing. And the third one is, that's kind of a personal note that depends on you. For me, it's kind of an incompatible style because I'm, not the fan of chair circle and talking about feelings or painting your feelings in colors or whatsoever you can do there. So the stuff that I really wanted is like, I really wanted to be me, but like have kind of an efficient compatibility layer around me to interact with the rest of the world, like with other departments, with bosses and customers and whatsoever. But like I already said, it's pretty tough, so didn't find a lot. But as an engineer, what do? If we don't find something, we think about creating it ourselves. And I was thinking about that, but let me give you that advice. If you're thinking about creating something yourself one day and making your own company, if you're still struggling, like, should I do it or shouldn't I do it, then the moment hasn't come yet. There is kind of this initial spark where you stand there and like, now I feel like I'm missing something if I don't do it. And you need a kind of an inspiration for it. And I was lucky, I had kind of an inspiration for it. I was working at an e-commerce company, and I was part of the leadership team. And in leadership team, you need to know something about business. And my business skills were, at that time, not the greatest one. So I was thinking about making an MBA. The problem with making an MBA is it costs a lot. It costs like 80 grand, and you got to go to school for 2 years or something like that. So that really wasn't an offer that I wanted to take. And I stumbled across an offer. Do you know that by chance? It's called the Power MBA. It's an American program, so I'm not a partner with them, so I don't want to make any commercial for them. Don't want to even talk about the content, but I want to give them credits for the format they had, because the format was dope. First of all, everything was online. Of course, completely online. You can do it at your tempo. The videos are on demand. It's all well structured, so it's really like, okay, I can incorporate it into my day whenever, wherever I want. And the second thing is, it was micro-learning. Have you tried to do some learning with micro-learning? No, are you like too much cake or still alive? I know that can be tough. I'm standing. Come on, it's tougher for me. Actually, microlearning is a nice thing because I like that. I never liked at school when the lessons were like 90 minutes, so I'm sorry for the hour today, but that's the way it goes. It was pretty long for me, so this is about small chunks, 15 minutes a day. Really cool, I have to say. Statistically, 20% better results, I don't know. But what makes sense is 50% higher engagement because it's way easier to motivate yourself for like 15 minutes a day compared to 2 hours. It's just like Ricky, we talked about before. It's easier to make sports at home compared to driving to the gym for a 2-hour session. But the best thing about it was they based all their content not on theory, but on practical stuff. Like they said they had real situations and incorporated the theory in there to show that it's valid. And that was pretty much the stuff that I liked because it was similar to the stuff that Simon did. And when I did that, that was my ignition moment. I called a friend and I said, hey, listen, let's do that. And that friend, Florian, shout out, became my co-founder, and we started a company together. And the company was all about how do we get the stuff, like the mean hacks that Steven has. So what we did is we went out and we asked senior persons, like seasoned experts. We went to everybody and asked, like, what were the 3 best advice you would have given yourself at the beginning of your career? And we started to make a huge collection. I'm pretty sure every one of you has this certain moment where, I don't know, shortly before you went into a meeting or maybe even an exam or something like that, somebody took you aside and gave you special advice, like, whatever happens, don't say that or do that, and you could still paint the situation. That's such a valuable advice for you. So we began asking people about that stuff, and it became a beautiful collection. And this is what we did. So we created this course just for tech people. This is not a product show. The only thing that's worth mentioning while we're German bashing is, funnily, the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research gave us an award for innovation competence. Can you imagine? Awards from Germany for innovation. The innovation we do is tanks and submarines. And now we have a nice course as well. So anyway, this is not a product show. It's about the second half of the job. And the problem in our industry is that, or let's say in general, soft skills are, everybody says that's a really important thing because humans are interacting with humans. But in tech, it has like, I don't know, a special taste to it. I'm pretty sure if we go out on the street and show this to anybody out there, people say like, yeah, for sure. This is a subjective stereotype we have. You know these series? I mean, everybody knows Big Bang Theory. You know the Silicon Valley? We get applause. Those are nice TV shows, but they have this subjective flavor saying like, yeah, we accept that they are geniuses, but somehow they behave awkwardly or whatsoever. And whoever gets to say what is awkward and what is normal. But still, we think that subjectively, those people have problems in social situations. And that's a subjective feeling, but there's an objective proof to it as well. Like there are statistics from hiring institutes that say in 73% of cases, hiring experts observed a lack of soft skills among applicants from the STEM field. So that's 3 out of 4. On the positive side, it also means if you're able to show soft skills, you'll immediately beat 3 out of 4 contenders in the job market, which is a nice thing. So there is a lack, obviously, for whatever reasons, but there's a connection in thinking that makes no sense, and this is this soft skills cannot be learned. And that's not true. Everybody can learn soft skills, even an asshole. And if I say an asshole in that situation, I refer to myself because I got a temper and I can be mean in meetings. It's there. I can't find it, but yeah, you shouldn't condemn yourself. For example, if I had a meeting situation where, I don't know, maybe it was even a junior fucked up the application, I would be somebody like standing there and saying like, who the fuck did these queries or created these queries? Those are rookie mistakes. And it would really, I would want to rage it out. Like, it's so stupid to do something like that, blah, 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 and go off. Whatever nature that is. The problem with that is, it feels natural, and it's no problem if it's there, because it's part of your personality, that you cannot change. It's really hard to change personality, by the way, but it's really easy to change behavior, especially with triggers. That's what psychology is about. And in that situation, like calculating, it's no good for the team, it's no good for the mood, even if I'm in a rage, and ultimately it's not good for me. So what you do is like, is there a better solution for that situation? There is, there always is. And it's always like kind of a little algorithm. And in that case, it would be the coin framework. Ever heard the coin framework? Some do, some others don't. It's pretty easy. And actually, it's a framework for one of the most challenging situations in job life. When you're in a meeting and you have to give feedback, because you can only fuck up. It's so hard. Most of the time, you might hurt somebody or you might come off too nice, and it's not really the feedback you want to give. So it's nice to have an alternative, and I really like that one. C stands for context, O stands for observation, I for impact, and N for next steps. So in that case, you might start giving context, saying like, hey, listen, guys, in my last code review, I saw that we're using some different, that in my last code review, let's start like this, that's nicer. In my last code review, I was seeing that we're having some new query messages. Okay, observation, I saw that these new messages that are not the framework, the new methods that are not the framework methods are processing large data at once. And this might, well, yeah, I don't know, impact, probably affect the runtime of our application, leading to downtime and most assumably to a bad user experience. Next steps would be, who is open to discussing with me how we could use the framework methods and processing smaller chunks of it. This is pretty much the same message incorporated in 4 easy sentences, but nobody gets hurt. The message comes across and you even go to the next step. And this is just a super, super little tiny hack for a situation where, I don't know, if something like that happens 4 or 5 times in a row in a meeting, you might call a coach or a psychologist to get the situation back again. No matter how good your tech is, people are fucked up, don't like each other anymore. So that's really the small details that change stuff. And there's a lot to know about that. While we're here, I'd like to talk about 3 common misbeliefs that I encountered. Some of them I even encountered when I was here last year, because we had lots of talks about the topic afterwards. And let's talk about them briefly. First of all, let me ask you, do you think that you communicate clearly? Now, don't be intimidated. Communicating clearly just means, do you think that when you speak, other people are able to understand you? And when they say something, are you able to understand them? Give me some hands. Okay, for the others, what do you think? Honestly, I'm curious. The details? Too much details. But the question was, do you think that people understand you and that you are able to understand other people? And you're shaking the head. What do you think? It's like when I say something, I don't even understand myself. So they go off topic. But would you understand what they say off topic? So then you're back on the positive side. Well, anyway, um, it's actually, I got to tell the story, I promised you guys. Bit embarrassing, but I got to do it. It's actually not that easy to understand if you're understanding somebody or if they understand you. I got to tell you a story. It has nothing to do with tech. When I was 18 years old, like two years ago, I just made my driver's license, and when you get your driver's license, you get to see other cities, and I was like from countryside, and I could go to the big cities and see concerts, and I got myself concert tickets. And the tickets were for Destiny's Child. Remember that band? Beyonce's band? Yeah, it was back in the day. And I had 2 tickets, and I wanted to go there with a friend, but on the day of the concert, the friend got sick. So I had to call another one. And I called around. I got one. Was whispering. I was like, what's going on? You want to go to Frankfurt with me, like a 2-hour ride, and see the concert? And he was like, yeah, but I'm still in school. How about I say I go to toilet and you just pick me up? We did that. It was like a big adventure. And in the car, we were happy, chatting, talking about the concert and stuff like that. And when we arrived, I was standing there, and then finally Destiny's Child hit the stage. Like the 3 gorgeous young ladies from Texas, black music, that was my thing. Beyonce is my age, so I was in love. It was great. She came out, and I was like, yeah, really cool. And a friend of mine was standing next to me like this. And then he looked at me and was like, it's them. And I was like, the fuck, it's them? What do you mean? Who else should it be? And he was like, I thought it was the band, with the redhead and the Chinese girl and stuff like that. He was thinking we were going to a concert of the Sugar Babes. Remember that band? It was like another girl band at the time. And at that moment, I really thought to myself, what the fuck were we talking about in that car for 2 hours? Like, I thought we had a great chat. I thought we were like on the same page, hitting the stage, asking Beyonce to marry me or stuff like that. And he was waiting for the Asian girl, but there was none. So it was kind of a bummer. Anyway, I'm just saying that because it's actually not that easy sometimes to understand, especially in tech where the domain is more complicated and where probably other people don't know the vocabulary that you know. So, and here's the thing. Like last year, the thing that popped up the most after the talk was like when people came to me, they were like, you know what, you got a point there and all the soft skill stuff, blah, blah. I really see that problem with my team. So the underlying message was like, I got no problem, but they suck. Like nobody came and said, yeah, I really got to work on my soft skills, communication, or whatsoever. Not even one came and said, we got to work on that. It was all like, yeah, they got the problem. And the funniest thing about that is I came home and I was like really interested and started looking around, and I found a bunch of studies that say 80% of people believe that they have above average soft skills, but only about 20% actually do. So that's the classical Pareto stuff we got in our industry as well. And now let me ask you again, like with the poll, what do you think makes a great communicator? Yeah, that's correct. I'll repeat that in a minute. It was whisperer. Yeah, good listener. We had that already. Something else? Whoa. Okay, that takes it to the next level. I'll call that clarity. Let's say it's listening skills. So you're a good listener. Actually, you listen a bit more than you speak. You speak with clarity. And here's the point, you have a certain presence because most of the talk actually is done non-verbally. And the next one is you have kind of an emotional intelligence. That doesn't mean that you have to feel the pain of the other person. It just kind of means that are you on board if somebody's understanding you or not? This is why I asked it. And now let me ask you again. If that is a good communicator, do you do that in every of your communications? Hands up. I thought so. And that's pretty much proof. Like I don't know how many Dunning-Kruger effects I already saw on the other slides today, but that's pretty much the thing. Even with easy things like talking, like I talk, you talk, that works. It's actually not that easy. So there's kind of a bit more to it. The second one was, hey, that sounds really good what you do, but I'm not really planning to go into management. I want to write code. And the statistic I brought last time, I don't know who was here last year, a couple of you, I guess, yeah. And I was talking a bit more in detail about the chaos report. I won't do that today, but that's a study you all should know, especially when you're in software. Chaos report says that 70% of all IT projects worldwide cannot be called successful. Successful means finish in time and budget. That's what is important. And it's like 70% of them fail, which is like not a great statistic for our expert industry. So, and if they go into detail and study why it is, they find out that most of the people working on the projects are actually really good at tech. But that's not what it's all about. There's way more in between, because you got to work together with others. You should be able to understand the domain and the problems of the customer, because if you don't understand the problem, how can you build a great application? But most of the time, we're not really interested in that domain. Then most of the time, the customer is not really interested in tech stuff. It just wants a solution. And a lot of stuff goes lost in there. And if you trace these numbers back that I just said, like the 70%, if you trace them back like 25 years ago, because we have these numbers, you will find that the trend curves are pretty much horizontal straight lines. And that means that in the past 25 years, statistically, the outcome quality of IT projects has remained the same. Although that in the past 25 years, and I've been on a bunch of conferences, there's so much innovative, great, and disruptive tech that will make everything better. It does, in a way, it changes a lot, but it did not really change the quality of stuff we produce. That's an interesting stat. And the second stat about, I brought you 4 stats. The second stat about, it's not interesting for me because I'm not a manager, is on average, every one of us is going to spend, or at least the coding people are going to spend like half of their work life in meetings. This sounds weird in the beginning, but think about it. That's an American statistic. German statistic is about 46%. There are all these agile meetings and all the stuff that you do all the time, but there's so much more. There's like client meetings, corporate meetings, like you get so much onboarding, you got meetings with new people, you got problem meetings, you got job meetings, whatsoever. So you're going to spend a whole lot of time in meeting situations interacting with people where coding skills or tech skills won't help much. And it's about half of the time that you're working. So there's really kind of a leverage there. And the next one is, if you're thinking about a career, think about that. The ICMS hiring report is a large study, a United States study. It's like the biggest institute that brings code workers into labor. And they say that 94% of their recruiters say they would much rather promote a person with bigger soft skills than a person with more years of experience but weaker soft skills. And that we call the senior problem. There are so many people in companies who say, hey, listen, I've been here forever. Why don't I get promoted? Well, it's like you don't become a senior just for not getting fired 7 years in a row. There's more to it. And that's pretty much the senior problem. And the next stat from the same report says 75% of the same recruiters would cut an interview short if an applicant was incapable of showing the skills beyond code needed for the role he applied for. And you know that story too. I've had so many friends who said, I had a great job interview. I nailed the coding challenge. I knew everything about it, but they didn't take me. You know what? Everybody nails the coding challenge. We're all good at that. Hardly anybody fails there, but there's a second part to the interview. That's the killer. So just saying, it's not management, think about it. And it's fair to say that even tech is a people's business. People are creating solutions for people in collaboration with, guess what? Yeah, other people using tech as a tool. So that's what it's ultimately about. And that brings me to the final one. And that's a biggie. It says the problem is not my communication skills, but the fact that management is not listening. And I got to give you that. I see many people smiling here. I got to give you that. There's something to it. I had that situation previously, I told you, before Stephen came in. But the problem here was not that they were not listening. The problem was that I didn't speak their language. So you always have to reconsider that if you put all the effort in, that you could be understood as well, and that you get the radar out to feel if you're understandable or not. But that is not the main problem. The main problem here is a typical problem for our industry, and it's called the missing expert status. I'll give you an example. If you Google pictures of experts from certain areas, or this is a nice trick as well. If you want to know something about public opinion, you just make a Google image search, and you get the image or the icon or whatsoever that the society, that the public has in mind when they hear a word. So when you Google for an expert, for example, for a doctor, you get something like that. And this already has some kind of expertise. You know the situation. Doctor comes in with a report, you kind of freeze. It's like, tell me what's going on. And whatever he says is like, you take 5 of the green pills, 3 of the yellow pills, and then you make exercise every day. You'd be like, nah, I take the pink pills and I do the operation myself. You wouldn't do that. You know, he's the expert. He says it and you say, oh, I'm fine with that. I don't want to die. It's like you kind of know the consequence, you get a feeling, you trust him. It doesn't even have to be like a studied person. Think about a car mechanic. If you bring your car to the car garage, car mechanic says like, nah, cylinder's broken. Who of you says, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'll drive the car anyway. I'll just take some duct tape. That's how I roll. You know, you wouldn't do it. He's like the expert. You would trust him. What happens if you Google for a software engineer? See, that's part of the problem. It's nonverbal communication as well. But we had that last year, and we had some discussions afterwards, so I save you that part this year. The problem is, of course, you can talk about appearance or stuff like that, but the problem here is not the appearance. The problem is the negotiation part of the job. Because you do not negotiate with a car mechanic, you do not negotiate with a doctor, but you negotiate with a software engineer. It's like, it doesn't fit into budget. It's like, why don't you skip the tests? Who need tests? I want action, not tests. It's like, put an if in. You're a magician. Do a workaround and you feel smart. It's like, I did a workaround. I'm a hacker. But the solution gets fucked up. It's like you negotiate your solution. And let me tell you one truth. I won't write it here because I want you to remember it. If somebody tells you how to do your job, you're by definition no longer an expert. If somebody tells you how to do your job, you're no longer an expert. So the thing here is, and that is kind of a soft skill thing, you got to stand your ground. You got to shield the how part. You got to earn the expertise. Expertise is earned, not given. You can't just say, yeah, but I'm an engineer. I got a degree. That's not enough. You got to say like, no, that's not how we do it. We do it like that. That is step number 1. Step number 2 is you got to get in earlier. You got to influence the what part and you got to influence the why part, which pretty much means if you don't really understand what you have to do or why you have to do it, it's hard to create a perfect solution. And think about it this way. People who make decisions and who are probably have not that expert level that you have with tech might not see the solution universe that you see. So they might come up with a stereotyped solution. We need that because I heard that. But in reality, another solution would be better. But you can only bring that up if you're in early and if you understand what's going on. And if that happens 2, 3, 4 times, people will say, that's the expert. That's what we call the go-to expert. So that's a very important thing for this third misconception. Let me give you a little, let's say, motivation for that case. Early interest in project pays off. Even if you don't, I don't know, if it's just a client project and you're not really interested in, I don't know, chemical, pharmacy, or whatever they do. It's like, I want to build good stuff. That's kind of a problem, you know. At the beginning of every project, you got 2 axes. You got the impact on the y-axis, and on the x-axis, you get the time. So your impact shrinks over time. So at a certain point in every project, there's a so-called point of no return where things get approved. Not everything, there's not waterfall, but like the main decisions are approved and you got to go with it. And often in time, things are approved where you as an expert think, Why do we have to build it that way? But you got to do it somehow. And the real big problem comes afterwards. I mean, it's a problem if you have to build that. But the real big problem comes afterwards because there's a second point of no return. And the second point of no return is, excuse me, when nobody remembers the planners anymore. Because maybe they're gone or whatsoever. Everybody will remember the people who maintain the stuff, who work with it every day. That's your application. So you will be connected with that application. And can you imagine someone standing there like, hey, what's going on? What expert built that? Or they might probably even enjoy it. I don't know, no judgment. Everybody has, maybe it was approved the right way, but for me it seems like a suboptimal solution. And I would be standing there and thinking, whoever fixes that has something to do with that, and I might not call this person as an expert. See what I'm going to. So get in early. This might lead to better solutions. It's some work up front, but I can only recommend that. It leads to less tech debt. It certainly leads to less pain in the ass at daily work. Pain in the ass is leave it. And you remain credible over time, and that's the important thing. Let me ask you, how about your future? I mean, we have some seasoned people here. You're probably already thinking about retirement, right? But there are many, many young people here as well. And especially as I saw, like every second of, let's say, 7 out of 10 talks here have the word AI in it. And it's always like two perspectives. It's like the golden grail, or it's the Terminator scenario. So I'm pretty sure, like I did, and like you did probably too, you've been thinking about your future as well. What might happen? Ask yourself from another perspective now. Now that you know, probably you haven't thought about that before, but it is a huge part of your job life. It's the second half. Ask yourself, whenever you get panicked again or you think about new perspectives, think if that stuff could work for you. What could have been different for you if you had skilled up in that area or not? And I told you previously that, I was lying a bit, I told you previously that that pretty much works for everybody, but it doesn't. And you know why? Because knowing alone does nothing. It's about doing. Knowing alone doesn't solve a case. That sounds pretty easy. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect, but it's like you got to get practice to it. Everybody of us knows how to lead a healthy life. It's not difficult. All you have to do is like work out from time to time, eat the right stuff, avoid the shitty stuff. And we also know the result. It's that easy. We know, I can guarantee you, if you do that, if you lead a healthy life, you're going to have more energy, you're going to have improved health, whatsoever, you feel better. And especially for our job, you're going to get rid of brain fog, chronic fatigue, body pain, and all that stuff. But just knowing isn't enough. Just like I said, life is about that. You always have two choices. You can do nothing and just continue, or you start to take control of your fate. And as this is a keynote, and all I can do is, I tell you the truth, I don't really care. It's your life. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But you can sit here and consume one thing after another, or you pick out 1 or 2 or 3 presentations that you really like, and I say, I go into it. Knowing is not enough. Knowing is Wikipedia. Knowing is asking ChatGPT some questions. And it's exactly the same, statistically proven, with the second half of your job. I guarantee you, the moment you start putting that into your daily routine, things are going to change. Especially when it's about careers and about opportunities. And that's an important factor when it's about AI. And yeah, what's going on here? The last word about AI, because I haven't been talking about it, although it was in my title. So I'm sorry for that, but you know, if you don't put AI in your title, no conference picks you. But I think you heard enough about AI, so yeah, see? That's the Italian thing. You always get through with that stuff. You just lie, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so sympathetic." But I use AI to prove my point. I just have one final quote for you, and it's from the World Economic Forum. Jesus, the moment I name AI, somebody gets panic. What's your name? It's Sarah Connor? Sarah Connor. About AI, just a final proof from the World Economic Forum is a nice quote that says, soft skills are what set us apart from artificial intelligence, driving a remarkable 53% increase in demand as technology advances. 44% of employee skills will be disrupted by 2027. And you see, 53, 44, that's a switch. So I'll leave you up with that. It's up to you to make your choice. Just like I said, blue pill, red pill, everybody makes his own choices. If you like the topic and you want to talk to me, and if we don't see each other, you can always click the link, book a call with me or with one of my friends, with one of my colleagues. No sales calls, no pitches or whatsoever. Yeah, these offers really do exist. Yeah. So I'm always happy to chat, and always happy to chat outside here as well. I'll be here for the next 3 days, or how long this is going to take. So thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the rest of the night. Oh, we have some Q&A, right? Oh, yeah.
What did you think? There is no more questions. There are questions. Why you didn't finish story about Destiny's Child? How was your journey back home with your friend? You had something to talk about or not?
The problem was I had to drive, so I couldn't drink. But I guess he was embarrassed. So he was drunk as a, you know. At a certain point, on the German Autobahn, which is a really nice game, I took his head and put it out of the window because I was afraid he was going to puke into my car. But he just lost like half of his face, and now he's chasing Sarah Connor. Where is she?
All right, but you were talking a little bit about miscommunication, and can you tell a story about Beyonce? Because according European Union laws, you are married, not Jay-Z's husband of Beyonce. Can you tell that story?
What the fuck? Are those your questions? Yeah. Actually, at that concert, it was in Germany, and there was silence throughout the concert, and she was standing there like watching the crowd, and I said like, marry me in German, which is so beautiful in German. It's like heirate mich, and she was not scared, and but the crowd laughed just like you, and she was like, why did they laugh? And she just walked off and said like, huh, okay. So I got like 50,000 people who heard it, and actually she should marry me.
So yeah, he's European Jay-Z, as you see. Okay, we do have some questions. Does percentage of people reaching to management or high-level positions align with people mastering soft skills next to tech skills?
That depends on what role you have in management. First of all, it's totally possible to reach management with only buzzwords. And I would call them some kind of misleading soft skills. So that is possible. If you master both, then you're like a golden nugget. So I think you're all strong at tech, master up in the second level, and you got some golden path in front of you. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Some more questions. How to evaluate your level of soft skills?
Depends on which area. First one would be go to a bar, buy a drink for a girl, see how that works out. No, first thing is get active, you know? Well, excuse me, what? Okay, how are the soft skills with your wife then?
You can practice both ways. You can buy drinks for ladies, and then you can buy a drink for the wife.
I'm not sure if that will work out, but to answer it in short, it's like get active, get practice in that, and start to understand the feedback. That's the thing. It's like, I know I had Sheldon Cooper in there who cannot, distinguish like criticism, but we're not that way. Come on, that's really Hollywood. Go out there and practice. So yeah.
You said it's easy to write good code. Is it though?
I didn't say that. I said the secret to enjoying work and enjoying writing great code is beyond it. So I think it is easy to write good code. Yeah. Ooh, no tomatoes or raw eggs. Yeah, but writing code is, you can write it yourself so that you understand it, but writing great code with a team is absolutely easy, yeah? But who of you does domain-driven design? In domain-driven design, they say you should spend like 80% of the time on a whiteboard, and there's no keyboard on a whiteboard. So you got to keep talking, you got to understand what's going on. And I really like that. let's stick with domain-driven for a second. I really like that approach of the ubiquitous language, where you bring the customer in and stuff like that. We had that once. We had a school customer, and they had in their school they had so-called modules for the students, but we use the term module as well for our tech thing, so there might be some problems. And what we did is no, we use a different term for our modules and for theirs, or at least for ours, because the domain wins in the end. And what we did is we let the customers explain in his words what we're doing there. And at the end of the day, it's okay, we're really on board, and then it gets so much easier to writing code.
Gigi, do you agree with saying that half of leadership is a theater?
No, Jesus Christ, who said that? Person here or online? Because Terminator is here as well. No. It's a leadership show, but leadership is an art. I mean, and there are so many different forms of leadership. Do you know about football? I mean, you all know, I don't know, Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, Mourinho. They're all completely different leadership styles. Depends on if you want to tell somebody what to do, really upfront, or if you do nothing and just embrace them to do something, or if you motivate them to get better. So this is really no theater. That's an art, actually. And by the way, when we talk here about soft skills, the approach that I'm telling you to do is not the magic soft skills that you get the feeling at the bar. It's proven procedures. I don't think a proven procedure exists to convince a girl, but there are many proven procedures to be good at meeting situations. Yeah.
Agree. Does physical attractiveness count as a soft skill and influence through the halo effect?
Yes. Oh, halo. Hi, Beyonce.
Halo. You see Beyonce
Oh, yeah.
is with you.
And she's there with physical
always with you.
attractiveness as well. She's got great soft skills. Yeah, of course. This is going the wrong way, I feel it. Just turn around once and hey, Ricky, how are you doing? Haven't seen you for a while.
Hey. Good to see you.
No.
You say that Beyonce...
No, physical attractiveness, of course. It's you see, it's nonverbal communication, and we're humans. Why do you think that on the commercial spots outside there are always pretty people? That's stuff we look at. But on the same side, it's also bound to stereotypes. You see, it's we're always saying oh, women in tech and stuff like that. A lady has it much harder if she's being herself on stage. If she comes here with a short skirt or stuff like that, and there's a room with 90% of men, it's a harder audience for her, for sure. So you have to know your audience, and physical attractiveness depends on how you define attractive, but physical appearance, I'll say it like that. This is very, very important, and even posture and all that stuff.